Hey guys, how's it going today? Welcome back to another patch notes video. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. We've got some crazy good stuff in this patch notes, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. So the very first thing that I want to cover is performance. Performance is having a massive overhaul. We're talking about a 120% performance boost to the game, which is absolutely incredible. So this just means that if you have a high-end machine, then it is going to run like water. And if you have a lower end machine, then hopefully at this point you are able to play the Unversim if you have not been able to play it in the past. But that does always depend on the computer as well. It's not just dependent on the performance of the game, but hopefully for your guys' sake, you guys are able to play it as well. So the first thing that I think is pretty cool is the black market. The black market is something that you are going to be able to interact with throughout the game. So various items and such will be able to be unlocked in the black market. I'm not sure if it's going to be things that are from the future or things that you haven't even been able to get yet. It's really not clear of what is actually going to be in the black market yet, and I have not played around with it yet. So we'll have to find that out in the first season of the Unversim, and also during the live stream that I am doing today, actually. So at 6 p.m. EST, I am going to be streaming on Steam and on the Unversim store page, or you can go ahead and check it out there. If you guys want to drop by, ask some questions, anything of the sorts, you guys can go ahead and do so. But going back into the black market now, so there's 4 different traders. Each of them have various things to sell, and each one will be unlocked as you progress through the eras, which is pretty interesting. I also have to comment that there are a lot of UFOs around this area, so potentially, maybe we'll see aliens, maybe. But going back to how you trade for these resources, you are going to have to use Nuggets Ecology, which is basically planet condition, creator powers, or even disasters to pay for these resources. Now, a couple of these is a little strange. For instance, creator powers. Does this mean that you just will never be able to use that creator power again? If so, that kind of sucks. Um, and disasters, I'm guessing that's going to mean that when you buy something that has a disaster attached to it, it means that it's going to spawn that disaster. Which I think is kind of an interesting idea. But yeah, I think that's really kind of all there is to really talk about the black market. The designs are cool though. I really do like them. They kind of give me some Star Wars vibes. But yeah, pretty cool. And now, something that I was not expecting is a massive change to the Kinetic Generator. We finally have a modern Kinetic Generator, so we now can finally make our nuggets suffer with a more modern, industrial-looking hamster wheel. But this is going to make it so that it is safer and it's also more efficient. So maybe you won't need as many of these during the modern age, which is always appreciated. So the next thing is going to be roads now will be connected to the bridges. Now, I've got some interesting ideas with these. I'm wondering if we can maybe make a road ourselves by making bridges down the coast of a lake and seeing if those roads will change, will stay after we delete the bridges. And also, what are the constraints? How long can the road be? Um, to create the space. For instance, like, did this road right here start here and then go all the way to the bridge, or did it end like, around here and then just form to the bridge? All those types of questions. I'm certain as well there might be a couple of bugs. I'm wondering if there will be a bug where if there is a residential building that was able to be built. For instance, if we refer to this photo right here, you can see that a residential building was essentially planned to be built right there. At least that's what I'm assuming that means. And that would mean that when you place this bridge, this road appeared. And something that I'm wondering is, will this residential house try to still be built, or will it not? That's something that we'll have to play around with and see. So going on, there's a couple of key features that they included in this update. The first one is an outline of buildings and objects that you can interact with. This one is kind of interesting, and I think it might be for newer players. But it also confuses me because you can interact with basically every single building. I'm not really sure on this one, but I think it could be useful for certain people. I'm probably personally going to disable it, and you can go ahead and do so in the settings/game options. So, yeah. Next thing is a new animation for unlocking new buildings. This will essentially show you the exact new building that you unlocked, and it also is a cool little thing instead of just having those buildings just appear. So kind of handy. Yeah, there's not really much more to say about that. The next thing that I think is actually kind of cool and making it kind of feel more like a sandbox game than anything is the idea of changing your creator points generation rate. And that is a mouthful. But essentially, you have 3 different options now when you create a new game. You are able to use the standard, which is basically the default, normal way that we've played forever. And then there's rapid now. Rapid is essentially 2 times speed. So if you're looking at, not really wanting to worry too much about disasters and such, but you kind of want a little bit more of a challenge, a little bit less of a challenge than the normal game, then you can go ahead and use rapid. Then next is unlimited. So if you're really looking for a breeze, then go ahead and set those natural disasters to never and put that creator point regeneration up to unlimited. The only thing that I can think of right now to really kind of use this as a balancing system is if you set, for instance, natural disasters too often and also wild animal attacks too often, you might want to have that rapid creator point regeneration for how many things you are going to have to deal with personally. So the next thing is going to be shortcuts for creator powers, which I never knew that I wanted this until this update. Because holy crap, going through this and just thinking about this is going to save you so much time for various things. So as you can see in this photo, when you click on a nugget, you can use the telekinesis power, you can use the, whatever that one is, the Kickstarter, the healing, and the Cupidon right away. And that is absolutely fantastic. You're able to use this in the nugget info panel, which is shown here, a population log, and on building worker slots. So if you've noticed that a nugget in, for instance, a stone refinery is damaged at all, you can go ahead and click on that stone refinery, not worry about healing the building, but focus on healing the nugget, which is absolutely fantastic, and I really appreciate this change. There's also another use for this that I think is going to be very useful, is the idea that you're able to kind of control the selection for your Cupidon. So if you want a specific trait within your nuggets, for instance, if you wanted to have a purely lazy population. You just have to find all of the lazy nuggets in the population log and go ahead and use the Cupidon on all of them. Why you would do this, I don't know, but you can. The next thing is there's now a change to the Kickstarter and the healing creator power. This is a really good change and something that I've wanted them to implement for the Cupidon power for quite a while now. I understand that the Cupidon power kind of requires a little bit more, so I understand that's not coming in yet, but I hope that it does at some point. But as you can see, you are now able to use it like the plant when you're planting trees, and you create an area and it just kind of heals or it kickstarts those nuggets in that area. In this example, they are healing buildings, which is another good use. There was also a massive change to the Kickstarter creator power, which is a very interesting one. So now when it's used on the nuggets, it will display a red halo above their heads, and it will also freeze all of the nugget stats except their age and health. This power will constantly drain nuggets' health, so you do have to be careful about it. But the bonuses that it gives sounds pretty incredible. It's going to give the nugget more movement speed, increase their strength, and carrying capacity. So using this on, for instance, your couriers is going to be very good. And also using this, honestly, in the very early game would be very handy too. So some things to think about for that nowadays. There's also now each building receives a hyperlink for its respective perk that unlocks it. So if you're curious on how to unlock the glass factory, for instance, you can now hover over the glass factory and click on a link, and it will bring you to the research panel and show you exactly where that perk is located. Something that I think is pretty handy. So that is basically all of the additions that they've added to the game and some of the key features of this update. So let's go on and look at improvements and balance changes. There's quite a few of these, so I'm not going to cover every single one. But the very first one I think is very important, and I think this might actually be something that really improved the state of the game, and that is Nugget AI once again. But in this case, they have reworked the delivery system and improved the timing on resource delivery. So this sounds like it's going to be pretty promising, and I am looking forward to how fast my nuggets will be able to build a mass amounts of wind turbines now. So another thing that is pretty cool is CP generation will now be shown in CP per minute inside the temple, and the same thing for sacrifices now as well. So it's a thing of the past to look in the temple and look at certain certain little things on sliders and trying to figure out what it means. Now it is going to give you a fixed value, which is very handy. And considering you never really could know how much creator points you were gaining per minute. So that is very nice. Another thing they did add is insects now flying around during the night around street lamps. This one's not particularly interesting, but it does kind of, I guess, kind of, puts you a little bit more in the world, I guess. But the next one is kind of an interesting visual and is a little bit immersive, I suppose. There's a chance now that after cutting a tree stump will stay on the ground. That's pretty cool. I do wonder how long those tree stumps will stay. Like, are we going to have a bunch of roads that are just going to have tree stumps all around them or in them or something on the lines of that? So something to think about. Both wind and kinetic generators received quite a improvement to their energy generation speed. So that's interesting. I believe this is the second time that kinetic generators received a buff, and this is theoretically first time that wind has received a buff since I started doing these patch notes. Wind has gotten nerfed and now it is getting buffed once again. So we are going to see kind of how this rebalance works, and maybe kinetic generators will be a little bit more impactful and just more useful. So something else was buffed was the Stone Age Engineering Hut. It received an additional slot for the engineer. This is a pretty big change for early on. You won't really have to be helping repair as many buildings. At least I hope not. With this change, they should be able to take care of it themselves. So that's something that's kind of nice. The next thing is stone and wood refineries output has increased by 40%. This is really fantastic, and this means that you're probably only going to need to start off with 2 or 3 of these refineries, and maybe even be fine for the rest of the game. So, pretty good on that front. Yeah, there's really nothing bad to say about that. It's going to just mean that you have more nuggets early on to do other various tasks, which is fantastic. Um, they also improved food production system. So instead of sending all of your nuggets that aren't doing anything to go gather food, they'll just be sending a couple of nuggets that need to gather it instead. So this will help, be a solution for the whole problem of your whole population going across the globe to find, freaking, I don't know, a manbro fruit. Like, what are you doing? But, so that hopefully will increase that and, not that big of a problem. Cook Doctor and shamans and gravediggers will now collect resources themselves, and they will no longer, really rely off of the laborers when all of the laborers are busy. I thought this was actually something that was already in place. I thought that doctors already did that, but I suppose maybe not officially, something on the lines of that. I'm not really sure, but this is very fantastic, especially when you've got a pandemic happening in your civilization and your witch doctors or shamans or doctors, whatever you want to call them, are just not doing anything because they have no medicine. And uh, and also the same thing goes with the gravediggers. They will always have wood, so they can always burn up the bodies. So farms and hunters' huts will now display when the certain crop, for instance, for farms, it's a crop. If a crop was not selected, it will now display an icon, which is something that I thought already happened, but maybe not to this extent. But then going on to the hunter's hut, now they will actually show when a certain animal type is extinct, which was very helpful and will make it so that, you can change it around as needed. One thing that I would like to see at some point is when you get like the agriculture ministry, and you have somebody working in that spot, they'll actually give you an actual indication of how many of those animals are left, kind of like Fish and Game in the real life. They basically do summaries and also kind of, population density, stuff like that, to figure out how many licenses to give out and how much fish each person can fish, essentially. Now, there are countless bug fixes for this patch that I'm not really going to go into, but if you are interested in going into, you guys can go ahead and check it out in the description down below. We'll have a link, essentially. There is quite a bit of UI and art, so quite a bit of the black market panel, it looks like, which is pretty cool. It seems like these are the four different things that you are able to trade with right now, and you can see that there's angry, neutral, and happy for each one of them. So based off of how well you are trading with them, it'll essentially go up the ranks and such. There's also a couple of others. Not really sure exactly what these ones are all about. And, you know, I don't really. Wait a second. Is that saying 1.2 thousand nuggets? I'm confused. I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, we will really have to play around with the black market ourselves. Something that I did like, though, is it does actually show a nice progression of where you are in the eras. That's pretty cool. And I look forward to playing this patch. So the next video is going to be the first episode of the next season. And let me know what you guys think the first energy we go. We can either go, kinetic, we can try it out, or we can go with a usual wind, and also, of course, there's the combustion. So let me know in the comments. And also, thank you guys so very much for watching this episode, and thank you for watching the whole thing. If you guys like this episode, hit that like button. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, anything of the sort, leave them in the comments down below. And as always, if you guys are brand new to the channel and you guys like what you saw, then please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would also like to thank the Patreons that support this channel. And if you too would like to become a Patreon, you can go ahead and do so in the description down below. Thank you all so very much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next episode.